Hello everyone. In this video, we will talk about list fragment. So we call fragments a list fragment if they include a list view inside. So a group of data is shown in list format in the list fragment. By clicking any data from the list, you can do all kinds of things. In fact, you can pretty much use list fragment the same way that you would use list view in fragments. Now, I want to explain this a little bit further because using list view is a little different in fragments, but that's the thought behind it. So list fragment contains list view features, but here it is way more flexible. So you get to benefit. Now, if you want to, let's move on over to the Android Studio and see how it works. So I created a new project for this video in Android Studio, and I want to show you what it looks like when it's finished. So here is a list view, and it lists the names of cities. This list view is inside a fragment, and as you know, fragment is inside the main activity. So when I click any city in the list, a new activity opens, and inside that activity, there's another fragment. Inside that fragment, you can see a city picture of the chosen city. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, we are looking at the Android Studio's official webpage example design of what a list fragment is. Now, we are creating a mobile version of that design. So if you want to, you can make the same design for tablet. It's up to you. Let's go on back to the application. So when I click on the back button, we go back to the list fragment inside the activity. If we click on another city, then we see another picture of that chosen city. And like I said, in this example, there are two activities and there are two fragments being used. You get it? Cool. So let's start to develop this application. So first, we got to create a new fragment. Now in here, there is a list fragment option, but I'm not going to use it because when I choose list fragment, Android Studio, well, it just shows too many methods and I don't want to use any of them in this example. I don't want to get you confused. You can do that on your own time. But also, if we just stick to what we need at the time that we need it, I think it's much more clear. Okay, so let's select blank fragment, and I'll write its name, my list fragment. So after I click the Finish button, Android Studio creates a fragment. Now here, if we look at Java code of fragment, the fragment which is named my first fragment is extended fragment class. So I'll delete it and extend list fragment instead of that. All right, so now that fragment has all the features of the list fragment. See how that works? So now we've got to add that fragment to the main activity. So in main activity, there is a frame layout below linear layout. I will add the fragment to this frame layout. And the ID of the frame layout is frame. So let's pass the Java code section of main activity. Now, you already know how to add fragments to main activities. So I will first create an object from the Fragment Manager class. Then I will create an object of the Fragment Transaction class. Then I just create an object from the Fragment class that I will add. After writing fragment transaction.add, I will write two necessary parameters. And then lastly, I will write fragment transaction.commit to finish the process. So my list fragment is now added to the main activity. So let's work on this my list fragment. I will add a list view to that fragment, and I'll delete text view here. In the XML section, I can change frame layout to be linear layout. And I can make this value, let's do the orientation to be vertical. Then I add list view. And I must give an ID to this list view. Now, I've got to make an important point here. You must not write ID to list view directly on list fragment. All right? For ID, you must pass to XML section, and inside XML tab of list view, you've got to define it. So after writing Android ID equals between quotes, I write Android ID list. Now you must write exactly like that. Otherwise, the list fragment won't recognize list view. All right, so let's pass to the design section again. And we see the ID of the list fragment as @sign and Android ID list. So now it's time to fill the list view. I'll pass to Java section of my list fragment. At first, I'll delete the return row and create an object from the view class instead of it. I'll return view object at the below row. Then I will overwrite a new method, and I will call that method. The method that I will call is onActivityCreate. And I will write my processes inside that method. I will create an array adapter first. And if you can remember back to the list view lesson, we must first create an adapter for list view. So I can write array adapter equals arrayAdapter.create from resource. And that method will take 3 parameters. First parameter is getActivity. Second one is the name of the array that contains elements that will be added inside list view. So in here, city names is the one that I want to add inside list view. Now I wrote them inside the array named cities, which I created inside strings.xml. So yes, indeed, it is a string array. All right, so we've created this array, and I'll write cities for its name. And I've added 5 city names in it. Now, if you want to, of course, you can add more city names. So now I'm going to add that series to array adapter. So I'm going to write r.array.cities. And the third parameter is the name of the layout, which I will use inside list view. And of course, you remember from the list view lesson, if we don't make a special design for list view, we could use one of the ready-made layouts. So I'm going to write android.r.layout.simpleListItem1 in here. And that's a type of layout that is already in Android Studio, showing one element for every section. Then by writing setListAdapter array adapter, I will add that adapter to list view. So now the elements inside the series are added to list view. So let's run the application just to see. And the application opens, and we can see the names of the cities in the list. But when I click on a city, well, there's nothing happening because there's no process yet. We're going to complete that in some of the other sections that follow. I just wanted to let you know that this process is pretty simple because it uses List Fragment. In other words, to add a list to list view, you just need the short code row.